Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the all-tournament team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I sure got 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time. Yes, sir.
Sharp a little late, boys, at the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's do it. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, I thought, my God, if Chica is offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right. Nice start. Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the time. All right, welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, live here in our Click Here digital campus on this Tuesday morning. If you don't mind, give us a like, share. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, start off with a subscription here on this Tuesday. We appreciate you.
Start
your day here with us. We're brought to you daily by RMB Builders. RMB-Builders.com, online, and RMB Builders on Instagram is where you can find Rhett and the crew, where they do custom design homes. They can do you an addition, whether you're commercial or residential. Get in touch with Rhett today at rmb-builders.com. Our phone line brought to you by our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Of course, Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, and the crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center. Real doctors, real solutions. And every Tuesday, we talk to our award-winning journalists. And we'll start it off from New Orleans.football at around 7:45 this morning. Brooke Kirchhofer will be here talking some Saints, updating us on the 2-win-in-a-row Saints, and talk to them about this week ahead with the Saints riding high off of a couple of back-to-back wins.
Back-to-backs.
Latest against the Chicago Bears last Sunday. And, of course, Wilson Alexander will be here at his regular 8:15 spot talking LSU, where we will hear also today from Brian Kelly. Yesterday, as he was meeting with the media in a pretty It was a press conference that had some information. It had
some strange bites from BK.
It was
to say the least.
Airing of grievances.
It was
a festivus for the rest of us.
It was eye-opening press conference to say the least for Kelly on his Monday visit. Florida week, we'll start to talk a little bit about that. LSU basketball started last night. The men win in a huge fashion, 106-60, first 100-point game for the Tigers since 2021. Tigers improved to 1-0 after beating Mississippi Valley State on Monday night. Will Baker, the story. Baker, the 7-foot transfer out of Nevada.
Shocked the world.
I mean, 10 and 11 from the floor. Couple of
poster.
3-pointers. He was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. At 21 points in the first half. Pulled down 5 boards, an assist, a block. LSU looks like they got a good one in Baker in the transfer. LSU will host Nichols coming up on Friday, and then the number 1 ladies last night downed by Colorado as Coach Kim Mulkey and LSU 92-78 losers last night as Colorado shocks the number 1 team in a game where Colorado couldn't miss. I mean, it was just one of those nights for the Buffaloes as they had it on national TV and it just wasn't working for LSU. I think this is best case scenario for the number 1 ladies. I think this may play into Mulkey's hand. What a great sense of motivation that you can always draw back to and really pull to with all these personalities on this team and in the locker room. Mulkey had a great soundbite last night, speaking of press conferences, and we'll get to Brian Kelly's stuff coming up here in a couple of minutes. But Stewie, if we can real quick, Kim Mulkey last night reacting to her number 1 LSU ladies going down on opening night versus Colorado.
And especially once you go against a team, like I think people forget, LSU was obviously the story going into Las Vegas, but Colorado made the Sweet 16 last year.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't. You're not playing a slouch.
I'm not saying like it was a total fluke. Like they're good, but I mean some of the shots they were making.
Oh yeah, no. I mean you have to play like that, and comes in first game of the year. You come in and you're going to get everybody's best punch. Absolutely. They're looking at you. You have a target on your back every single game, especially a game on TNT, Shaq's in the front row. All of that comes into play.
Jalen Sherrod. I mean, it's Colorado's point.
Yeah, she had 19.6 assists. Their center, Aaronette Vonleh, had 24, and Frida Foreman had 27. Like, that's not missing.
Frida Foreman was not missing.
No, Foreman didn't miss. We have the Mulkey bite. Mm-hmm. All right, here it is afterwards last night of Mulkey talking about what she needed to see.
Live with poor shooting. You live with just a tough night offensively. What I don't live with is just guts and fight and physical play and just you got that dog in you, and I just didn't think we had that tonight. I thought this young lady and I thought Samaya Smith did all they could. Well, look at them. You're talking about a true freshman and you're talking about a true sophomore. We needed more than just them. We needed more than those two to have a little bit of fight within. This is not going to devastate us. Chicken Little said the sun will come out tomorrow, didn't he? You know, the sky's not falling. I know a little bit about this game. I knew what we faced. But what I didn't know about my team was all those things I just described to you. Those things are fixable. But I don't know how long it's going to take to fix it. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
So they probably will have a good practice come Wednesday.
So a message there from the head coach in Kim Mulkey talking about the loss. And look, I thought that's a refreshing soundbite to hear from a head coach that understands that her team needs to get tougher, right? And I think when you put all these personalities together, you put these players that are playing together for the first time, that have meant so much to their teams in the past individually, and now you put them together collectively, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some trying times to figure it out. So this is, look, it's November, and basketball season is just getting going down the track here, and there's a long way to move. And LSU is going to be fine when you look at, the collection of talent that they have. Once they get it figured out, they're going to be scary. You could see it last night in glimpses. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could see it in small sequences if they were to get, or once they get it moving with, Van Lith and Reese. And, I mean, how good is Michaela Williams? I mean, that's who Mulkey was referencing when she said, this one right here next to me has it. And, I mean, the freshman in her opening game was super impressive in the way she handled the stage. She had 16 points last night. And look, I think Mulkey's press conference is kind of what we've been urging and waiting on with Brian Kelly to come out and say. And I think Kelly has said it, but he doesn't have that direct tone or direct, verbiage like Mulkey uses in describing what his team needs. I think, he's much more political about it in the sense and the approach of describing what LSU is missing. And yesterday was a lot the same in hearing Kelly speak on, just what LSU was going through Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. Some of the sound bites I think were eye-opening, especially when he was asked on the defensive side on what he could have done if he would have changed things. And it was Wilson Alexander who asked him that. And we'll have Wilson on about an hour from now and get his reaction from yesterday's presser and what he expects the next couple of weeks to look like, and if we have an update on Jaden Daniels. And we'll hear from Brian Kelly. But Kelly made a comment of instituting the spy on Saturday night. And I understand that you have to face it, you have to say it, you have to address it. It just is one of those things where I don't know. Is it alarming that you get 48 hours later and you talk back on it? But I mean, I'm sure you're on the plane asking questions about what could have been done, and for nobody within 4 quarters, a halftime, in between quarters, within the game, to say, we should spy the quarterback because he's running all over LSU's defense, and then have, to say, you wish you would have done that. It's like, I don't know. I thought that was just eye-opening in the sense of, it kind of goes back to what we were saying yesterday. If you're saying that you wish you would have done it, and obviously, you wish you would have done some things differently, and I get that, but at no point during the game did anybody say that. Like, I mean, you have all of these guys, 10 people have headsets on in a college football game. Half of that is on the defensive side. So let's say you got 5 guys on headsets that are talking defense. Not one person said in a 3.5 hour game and a 20-minute break in between, like, hey, here's a suggestion. Maybe put put Weeks in and let him run with Milroe and just see. That way we don't get to the bus and say, man, I wish we would have put the spy in. And again, I'm not trying to live in the past and should have done this, should have done that, and you win the game. But, just it does bring up, like, what's being discussed. Like, I mean, I don't mean that sarcastically. I don't mean that, like, begrudgingly, disrespectfully. But that seems like a very simple, especially when that's how you won last year. It's like, it's not foreign language, right? I mean, like, when you put Perkins into the game last year and said, wherever 9 goes, you go with him. the whole game changed. And by not doing that with Milroe, changed the entire complexion of the game. The one time you did it, Perkins chases him down to the sideline and they call him for a horse collar. But you stop him. It just, I don't know, man. Again, it's not anything on, calling for Brian Kelly or anything like that. I mean, you're in the second year of a 10-year contract. It is kind of like head scratching to hear that level and that knowledge of football, saying you wish you would have done something very football 101, it feels like, again, to somebody, to me, who's, Brian Kelly has forgotten years of football that I'll never know. And, during the game, you're like, they should spy Milroe, right? I mean, like, you guys cutting him up. I mean, they're killing LSU. Shouldn't they just put one person on him and do that? And then to hear the coach say, I wish we'd have done that. And it's like, huh? I don't know. Remember Daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Go Roof, GEAUX, roof.com. Remember our friends online at Go Roof. And you can get in touch with them at 927-8300, 927-8300, 225-927-8300, or online at GEAUXroof.com. That is a beautiful roof every shingle time. Commercial, residential, or roof maintenance, you can count on our friends over at Go Roof. They'll jump up on the roof, diagnose the problem, work with the insurance company, take the headaches out of the problem for you, and get that new roof up and operating. They'll come see you today, jump up on the roof, and tell you what's going on. 225-927-8300 or online at GEAUXroof.com. Here is Brian Kelly yesterday speaking on the presser. This is updating the status, Stewie, here of his quarterback after Saturday night leaving the game in Tuscaloosa.
The office.
Yeah, I think I would consider him day to day. He's going through the injury protocol, and he's made improvements. But this is a process that we'll just have to, see how it plays out from day to day. But I can tell you that he's made some progress. Yeah, look, we want to protect the quarterback, and certainly there was a penalty on the play. Targeting is looked at by the replay officials. They had plenty of time. I think we even went to, there was a timeout there as well. So there was plenty of time to look at it. They must have felt that there wasn't targeting. We sent it into the league office because we felt like it checked all the boxes. But again, we want to protect the quarterback here, obviously.
Kelly speaking on the health of Jaden Daniels, expecting him to be day-to-day in a call. You'll get updates throughout the week. Kelly will be on the SEC teleconference tomorrow. He'll have a press conference on Thursday following practice, and then, of course, he'll have his radio show on Thursday night. So there'll be a lot of opportunities to be updating the status on Jaden Daniels. And, look, you can see the frustration there on Brian Kelly. He can't come out and speak on just how poor of a call that was. Just because of the rules in the league and the head coaches and what they have to abide by. But, I mean, you can sense his body language and tell that he's it was the wrong call. All right, these next couple of bites are on the defense, and this is the one that, Kelly was talking about, the quarterback spy. Stewie, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6 in succession, and we'll just kind of set them up and roll to them. But we'll start with 3. And Kelly is being asked about what changes he would have made on the defense now looking back on the game.
Team with?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you're always looking at things that you can, do over. Hindsight is 20/20, right? I mean, could we have spied the quarterback? Absolutely. There were third down situations that, third and long that clearly we felt like we wanted to be in, more coverage, and we felt like our unit pass rush could keep them in the pocket. That did not prove to be the case. I would say that was probably, the number one thing in terms of if we had to do some things coaching-wise differently, we probably would have employed a spy technique.
Here is halftime adjustments. Kelly speaking on halftime adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, we went out 28-21. We scored first. Again, we got to the fourth quarter. It was 35-28, and, we get a deflected ball, and they end up on the 25-yard line, and that was the difference. They had the ball for 11 minutes to our 3 and change in the fourth quarter. We did not convert a third or a fourth down, on offense, and they converted 2 out of 3 third downs. So we didn't have the ball, and when Jaden went out, we weren't effective and as efficient on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't know that, look, we have spy within our package. We didn't utilize it in certain situations that, in retrospect, would have been a great call. That's not really a halftime adjustment per se. You have that in your plan. That's just a matter of making that call. I remember clearly writing up on the board, for our football team, in the second half was tackling better. We needed better leverage. Our eyes needed to be better. And I felt like if we did those things, we were going to be in good shape. And then from an offensive standpoint, it was, continue to have the balance that we had.
How about his assessment of the defensive staff up to this point?
Look, we're playing the players that are best suited to get the time necessary, and I think they're developing. I thought we did a heck of a job battling a big and powerful offensive unit against Alabama. I thought our defensive line was battling and was physical. They didn't knock us off the ball. A lot of their running game, we had one misfit in the B gap, and the quarterback ran on us. So I think coming off a shutout against Army, coming off a really good performance against Auburn, and then the back end of the Missouri game, I think there's been really good progress from a defensive standpoint. That was a team that played very well, and we set their offense up on the 25-yard line, and then we didn't convert a fourth down, which gave them a half field to deal with on a fourth down that we didn't make as well. So overall, as I mentioned, could we have made a couple of calls to get the quarterback spied? Absolutely. But we're making the kind of progress that I need to see from a defensive standpoint.
I would push back and ask just where. I know that he kind of explained that, but to me, that looked a lot and felt a lot like the Ole Miss game, where it didn't matter the starting position, it didn't matter the time on the clock, it didn't matter who was in. They just couldn't stop anybody, and that is one of the things that I believe when you're looking for progress. That just feels like it's in neutral. It feels like kind of the same product that it was a month ago. One more on the defense. This is 6, Stewie, of Kelly talking more about what's going on defensively.
Or somewhere in between.
Yeah, we're going to save those questions, and I respect the question, but my focus is on Florida right now and stopping their inside zone game. That really is. I respect the question, and certainly there's going to be a time for those questions, and we'll answer those questions. But my mind is really wrapped around getting another win, playing at a high level, and beating Florida right now.
So more, and look, if I get asked more in public about, it's crazy, about like Denver Harris than I do anything that's going on in my life. Like, it's wild.
Like it's your son.
Yeah, it's wild. And I will tell you this, Stewie, this is 12. If you want to know why Denver Harris has been such
A mercurial.
an issue of finding him, playing him, getting him on the team, dressing him. Where is he? Why is it? I think this is the soundbite that describes what has been going on with Harris and why he's not right now, whatever his status is with LSU football.
Yeah, so this journey that we're on about, it's not about talent, it's about talent and traits, and building traits where there's, an attention to detail, the fine details, has to happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just don't show up on Saturday and go, you know what? I'm going to have attention to detail today. So that's the process that we're in within this program, is building that attention to detail, that when you have a tutor's appointment at 9:30, you don't show up at 10:30. You show up at 9:25. That's attention to detail. Or when there's a meeting that is at 2 o'clock, you don't show up at 1:59. That attention to detail takes a lot of time. It takes consistency and building those habits. We're working on that. We are not a finished product, but they're working hard to get there. We're just not there yet. And that, when you get there, you start to move yourself up from good to great to elite.
So I think those are some of the things that have been stressing Brian Kelly in building the program. And you're doing it with some personalities that take a little longer to catch on. And I think that is, that's some of the things and what has been hounding, I know, guys like Harris. Just kind of things that are not, by any means torturous to the team and detrimental to anybody's health or good standing of where they are. It's just little things that, I say little things, but I mean things that matter, ultimately in the program that you have to either abide and adjust or, you can't be a part of. And that's just, that's the contract that you sign, and that's what you sign up for. And, the people that get it are usually the ones on the field. And that's what is, if anybody's like, what's going on? I would say reference Brian Kelly's Florida Week press conference when he talks about, the little things of building the program and how much, that matters in what goes into the day-to-day operations and Saturdays of what's going on with LSU football. I mean, that feels like it's it. This is 16, Stewie. The practice plan for Brian Kelly and Jaden Daniels this week, what's it look like for the quarterback for LSU?
Not new yet.
Today is not a practice day, right. So we didn't have to make that determination. We wouldn't make that determination until tomorrow when he goes through the next stage of his protocol.
Okay. So at this point, you can't quite decide yet, like how you'd split up reps between him and Garrett or anything like that. That's all going to be, like you said, kind of day to day.
That would probably be day to day. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
One more on Jaden Daniels and his play. What is it doing for the expectation of LSU? What's it doing for the overall feel of LSU? How much does Jaden Daniels' play really cover up what's going on, or what the expectation is for the program?
I really hadn't thought about that. Listen, my expectations are the same as everybody else's expectations. Our offense is ahead of our defense. I want our defense to catch up, certainly, right? Our offense is one of the best, if not one of the best offense in the country. But we're not at the same level. We have to continue to build, and we have to continue to recruit. We have to continue to coach at the highest level, and that's just not the case yet. But we're going to continue to get there, and we're going to continue to make the progress. I was asked the question, where do you feel your defense is? We're making progress defensively. It might not be at the level we all want to, but we have to then in the off season look at, all right, where are we in all phases? Kind of the question that Ed brought up is the bigger picture. We'll do a deeper dive at the end of the season on all those other things, because we have to be able to catch up to where our offense is. Good? Hey, Coach. All right.
Brian Kelly, this was him being asked about this Alabama hangover that has haunted LSU, right? For many years, this time in the schedule and this time for the program has been some dark days. Kelly spoke on keeping the team and the program motivated for the last month of the season.
Team this week.
It's the same thing about, what last week was about. It wasn't an emotional week. It was a preparation week for us. So this week will be the same. We need to prepare. Listen, it goes to what I said. Like, if we want to be elite, we have to be consistent. We won 10 games last year. You need to win 10 again. And that's in front of you. So you have an opportunity to win 10 games again this season. And if you want to start closing the gap towards being elite, then back-to-back 10-win seasons starts to do that. So it's a challenge to our football team in terms of how do you want this program to continue to grow? It's on your shoulders, and you have an opportunity to continue to get better. Coaches need to get better, and players clearly need to get better. And so this is a great opportunity, playing a really good opponent at home, and you've got a chance to move from being a good team to being a great team.
One more from Kelly of what's on the table for LSU and still what they have yet to accomplish here this season.
College football.
Look, to me, I always break it down by not the wins and losses. It's about who do you want to be? You have choices, right? You can be bad at things if you want to be bad at things. You can be average at things, 500's average. You can be good at things. Maybe that's 7 or 8 wins. You can be great or elite. I think we can be so much better than good. We can be great. And great requires more of a commitment. And so they're going to have to give more this week. The coaches are going to have to give more. The players are going to have to give more. So if you're not interested in being great or elite, you have choices to make. I want to be around great. I want to be around elite. Because that's what this program. I didn't come down to LSU to be good. I came here to be elite. And our players that sign scholarship papers here, I'm sure they do it because they want to be elite too. I know our fan base doesn't want good. I can tell already that that's not the case. It's about being elite. So these are weeks where you're talking about, why are you here? I know why I'm here. Why are you here? We're here on this chase to be elite. And so this week is going to require you to work on these things totally, physically, technically, tactically, mentally, if you want to be elite.
I love that answer. I got to be honest. That's one of those answers where you're like, all right, man, that's what I'm talking about. Let's do that. That's the mindset that you feel that nobody's going to accept that, the feeling of what it is and what it's like to lead a big-time heavyweight program that has expectations to be championship-level contending every season. It's like, okay, like that's great. That's great to hear. Like, now, play with weeks. Play the guys that give you the right chance, or put the guys in place that can recruit, that can evaluate, that can develop. Get those guys in place. I think that there is a sense of cleanup to the program that started with Brian Polian, and I think there's more of that mentality that has to be. You got to get back to what made LSU great. And I know that we've talked about this before, and I respect what Brian Kelly is bringing to LSU. I think what he's bringing LSU needed. And Lloyd and I were talking about it before the show. The last time LSU really had this sense of structure was with Saban. You talk to Saban guys early on, there was a transition period of, hey, look, you either adapt or die. You either sink or swim, because you're going to go to tutor, you're going to go to class, you're going to maintain a GPA, and you're going to make sure that it's done up to this standard. And look, I'm not sitting here saying that they were all Rhodes Scholars at the time, and they may have had tutors writing papers for them, but they were at the tutor. They were there. They were in person. They were going through the protocol of what it meant to be structured and creating a discipline. And, that was very important to building those teams and building the discipline and behavior that it took to understand what leadership and what accountability and what all of that, meant to the locker room. Right? Because it just wasn't about, interceptions and catching touchdowns. I mean, you had to be accountable all the time to your teammates and to the program, and all of that was instilled through, standards and discipline that Saban brought in 2000. And, a national championship, SEC championship, things that started to follow. Was it just because he was getting good players? He was getting good players to abide into discipline, buy into discipline, and they were just now producing on Saturdays. I mean, it turned into just a machine. So I understand what Kelly is intentionally trying to do. And LSU needs it. LSU, I think, when he got here, was desperate for it. And you started to see the benefits of the SWAT team and the structure and the environment of, the nutrition and on time and people. It's all.
I mean, yeah, everybody that is harping on the fact that, it's too disciplined, whatever. You were all singing his praises for bringing all of these protocols in last year. Taking your vitamins, the SWAT team, going to tutor. Because when Ed Orgeron came, or whenever he left and Brian Kelly came in, you had Moffitt come on your show for whenever Ed Orgeron was the head coach, and he was saying, in 2019, we had the first time ever of 100% participation in every practice, every workout, everything. The next year, it was down to 65 to 70% participation. Like, that's how easily it fell off because you don't hold people accountable. Like, it's easy to win whenever you have that amount of talent, and then everything's fun. It's almost like Coach Carter. Like, you start winning, you forget about the little things, and what did he do? Lock the gym. Same thing with that Orgeron, because if you don't at one point, then you don't have any accountability. Nobody does anything. And it's hard to hold people responsible whenever you're not doing it yourself. And so you can see what he's trying to do, and it's frustrating for LSU fans because you look at one thing, you say win. Well, I don't care if they go to class, I want them to win. But for Brian Kelly to build sustained success, and he said it himself, I'm here for 10 years. If I don't put my plan in place now, when am I going to do it?
Right. And look, I believe he is tasked with that and got the job when LSU's roster was in shambles. I mean, it was totally, at the bottom. I mean, it was the bottom of what LSU has ever had. 38 scholarship players when he took over the job. I mean, that is starting from scratch. And so, bringing in that discipline and having to reload and rebuild and bring in talent is a very challenging job. And just year 2 of it is understandable that you're still behind. What I believe has really kind of shifted the growth process is the ability to evaluate and the ability to get players onto campus and then develop them. That is where LSU is lacking behind, specifically on the defensive side. On the offensive side, I mean, they're like an NFL team. I mean, like Cortez Hankton, Frank Wilson, Brad Davis, and those guys. I mean, just keep the level. Mike Denbrock, Joe Sloan, just keep the level and the standard of what you guys have created. I mean, just flirting with where you're at, and those guys will be cherry picked, and you'll have to, those guys are making a lot of money. Right. And you're going to have to continue to pay those guys to keep them just because of the type of players they're bringing in, the way that they're being developed, and, what they're accomplishing on the field. On the defensive side, what has changed, in my opinion, is you don't have the capability, obviously, to recruit at a very high level and get guys. I mean, if you look at the number of defensive backs that LSU has missed on in the last couple of years, it is.
You could go down the list.
I mean, Stewie put the list together. Was it last week?
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of players that they had that LSU has tried to bring in and missed on, or that don't even play the position. And so you've taken safeties that are now playing corners that aren't on the program, corners that are transfers that get hurt, that don't play. Like, the lack of bodies is something that can't happen. I think that's why LSU fans are so frustrated. You look at the development on the offensive side of the football, where you have Jane Daniels go from, I don't know if he's the starter, to he should win the Heisman. And you look at the defense side of the ball, it's like they can't figure out whether they should spy or not. That's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
Because one side is so good and clearly getting developed and recruited. The other side is they don't have a warm body.
And then I open on 3, and one of Louisiana's top defensive linemen, DK Mays, at Central High School, kid says he doesn't even know if LSU is going to offer him.
Senior?
He's a junior, but he has Texas A&M already, Mississippi State already.
But they don't have a D-line coach.
He said Alabama. He said he feels like Alabama's probably going to offer him before LSU does.
They don't have a D-line coach.
But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's a Louisiana kid. It doesn't take a D-line coach to tell a kid he has an offer to LSU.
Right.
I know, but I think that's part of the problem is there's so much stacked on top of each other. Whenever you don't have a position coach, one thing, like a kid can fall through the cracks, and then he has to say something like that to like, oh, shit, we didn't give him an LSU offer? Like, whose job is that? Y'all got 100 people on staff. What are y'all doing?
No, it's a kid like Mays is an easy.
That's what I'm saying, but it hasn't happened.
That's an easy evaluation.
Easy recognition.
Especially when you look at your D-line.
Exactly.
Like, just throw an offer at him.
There's playing time here for you.
Counted Money 1, Jordy, you're literally the one saying, who cares if Denver Harris wasn't following the structure? What happened? Look, I mean, people want to keep me as.
No, you wanted to give him some rope.
I never said that Denver Harris should get different rules. I mean, I know I said that Denver Harris knew what he signed up for. And I also understand that, like, there is punishment outside of playing time. Right? Like, I mean, there's ways to make guys feel that if you don't abide, you can't play. But you also have to have a clear understanding of, I mean, you got to win. I mean, we go back to Saban. I mean, Saban was...
Look at what he's doing in Alabama.
He was a tyrant at LSU. But there were guys that stepped out of line and, were late to things and missed, tutoring appointments, but they played on Saturday. I mean, like...
Yeah, but make your life hell Sunday through Friday.
I mean, like, we can all go back to the story of Damian James very early on in Saban's career. I mean, him and Damian James butted heads every single day. He'd have James running stadiums. He'd have James coming in 2 hours earlier than everybody. He'd have people, James staying later after practice with him. I mean, he had Damian James in a vice grip. But Damian James started every Saturday. Now, at the end, they just ran out of gas with each other, and they ended up going separate ways. But, I mean...
During the season, you had him.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, he was a guy that gave you a headache every single day, but... he also gave you the best chance to win. And while there are ways to institute your policy, there are also ways to punish guys without them missing playing time.
Yep.
Right? And I mean, I also, I get like missing a series or two if the playing time is in the cards of missing. But you make guys miss entire games and entire series, entire halves.
Seasons.
Like, man, what's the purpose? What at the end of the day, what's the goal? Is it to win football games? Because if it is, you need to find another source of punishment for a guy like him, because you got to have him on Saturdays. And I'm not even talking specifically about Harris. I'm talking about guys in general.
I mean, even when you can go back
and I saw that firsthand from Saban.
Yeah.
I mean, Saban was the one that really was like, hey, yeah, I mean, he's not going to cost me. You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of his mentality. I mean, I'll never forget John Brady and Nick Saban were on campus together. This is around 2000. They shared an office together and would consistently share these kind of like, coffee pot, talks, chats, kind of hallway chats. They'd be, walking down the hall together or in the elevator together at the coffee machine. And Brady asked him about that specifically. How do you discipline these guys? How do you keep these guys motivated? How do you, different discipline for different guys? He's like, he's not going to cost me. My contract says that I got to win football games. If I don't, I lose my job. Like, that's what I'm judged on. So he's not gonna put my good standing in jeopardy, right? But he's gonna make sure and feel it that he's gonna abide, but he's gonna play. And I always kind of thought that was, that was the responsibility of a football coach. I mean, there's a lot of ways to punish a guy on campus. Missing time, it's not the only way. What's the famous line that Jimmy Johnson said when he came in and the guy taking the nap in the meeting was like a 7th-round pick, and he told the guy right there on the spot, pack your stuff, get out, you're cut. The whole room was like, whoa. After the meeting, somebody asked him, what happened if that would have been Troy Aikman sleeping? He said, I'd have woke him up. Yeah. You know what I mean? I sure as hell wouldn't have cut him. You know what I mean? Like there's different rules for different players.
It's always been that way.
Right? I mean, like there's just different ways to get there. So,
look what happened with Cam Robinson. Man gets arrested for marijuana in Louisiana. What's happened when he comes back to Alabama?
Right.
You're fine. Right. All good. Like, people are going to make mistakes, but it's this iron fist type thing that I think turns people off of the Brian Kelly situation, where if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late, and it's, Coach, I'm going to tutor, and I'll walk the door at 2 o'clock. That's when they expected to see me.
I think you should be punished if you show up an hour late for the tutor.
Oh no, I'm saying, but if you're not 15 minutes early,
15 minutes, I get that. But like, if it's at 2 and I'm showing up at 1:59, I shouldn't get penalized for that.
Right.
But if
I
it's
show up
4
at 2:05,
p.m.,
you should run stadiums.
Yeah, and
if it's at 1:30, you should run a lot of stadiums.
And then, but you should also, like, that should be baked into, like, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. It can't be a surprise. And it feels, at least from my perspective, a lot of what's happened with the Denver Harris and the Deuce Chestnut situation, all of that, it feels like they don't know when what way's up now. Like, what do I have to do? Oh, wait, I'm playing. No, I'm not playing. Like, all of those types of things, it just feels like it's not very clear cut on who he picks and chooses to get disciplined, especially like Colin Jackson wearing his chain on the sideline. It's like, do we really give a fuck about that?
Like, is that really like something we're worried about?
Right, and then if you're a player and you hear that, you're like,
or if you do, like, make sure like, Colin, I'll see you 5 o'clock Tuesday morning.
Yeah, exactly. You can wear that. You can wear that if you want.
Yeah, right. You'll run a lot of. You'll watch the sun come up in Tiger Stadium while you're running.
Sweet, and I'm gonna wear my chain there too.
Welcome aboard, a new sponsor. Looking forward to talking and telling you about Jude's Hot Chicken and Shrimp. JudesBR.com, located on Burbank, brand new restaurant over there on Burbank. You can stop in and see them at 3930 Burbank Drive. They're open 10:30 to 9:30. You can follow them on social media at JudesBR. If you come in, you can try the shrimp and chicken options with any sauces like the Nashville Fire, Nashville Honey. You can also try out the milkshakes that they got over at Jude's Hot Chicken and Shrimp, located at 3930 Burbank Drive. Stop in and see them, and make sure you tell them that you heard it right here on the Culotta Show. They're online at JudesBR.com. That is JudesBR.com, and they're located out on Burbank, bringing you our show every single day. Every Tuesday, we talk New Orleans Saints with one of our favorites, Brooke Kirchhofer from NewOrleans.football. Saints coming off of back-to-back wins, riding high down there in the Big Easy, so looking forward to catching up with Brooke here on this Tuesday morning. Brooke, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. All right. Nice win Sunday for New Orleans. I know Chicago comes in here with an unnamed quarterback and playing pretty bad on the season. But look, you'll take him any way you get him at this point. What'd you see on Sunday?
Yeah, at this point, it almost seemed like, could the Saints string together back-to-back wins this season? It got to the point to where we didn't know if this offense was finally going to be consistent. But let's start with the defense, since you mentioned Tyson Bagent. He ran all over the Saints for the first 3 quarters. When we talked to the guys in postgame, they said it was on us. It was a matter of us not having our eyes set. We weren't in the right position. The goal was to keep him contained in the pocket, not necessarily get pressure right away. And obviously we saw that didn't work. As soon as the defensive ends kind of cornered him and allowed maybe some room in the pocket, Tyson Bagent just took off down the field, found the holes, and then you had the secondary kind of scrambling, who were in man-to-man at points in the game. And the only thing that changed in the fourth quarter for this defense was that they finally started taking away this rookie quarterback's first and second reads, which is what was the goal the entire game. When you have such a young quarterback that you're going up against, you want to get him confused, you want to get him off of his spots. They were able to do that in the end, but the 5 takeaways help a lot. Paulson Adebo with 2 interceptions, and then of course fumble, forced recovery. He has been somebody who has been a bright spot, who we thought we were going to see this last year after such a good training camp, but then the injuries obviously happened, so it's good to see that Paulson Adebo still kind of has it in him, and he has the ability to kind of match what Marshawn Lattimore has done on the other side so far for the Saints.
More on the defense, Brooke, because to start that game, it looked like it was going downhill pretty fast. I mean, Chicago came out and hit Komet on the opening touchdown and then put another scoring drive back together, and you were like, whoa, this doesn't look right. What did you see kind of from an adjustment standpoint that they made it kind of was able to finish that game so strong?
Like I mentioned, the secondary was able to take away his first and second reads, forcing him to go to the third and fourth reads. And because of that, it allowed the defensive line to get pressured, allowed time for them to get to the quarterback. And that's, of course, when you saw, I believe it was 2 sacks. Yeah, the Saints had 2 sacks for a loss of 8 yards. Cam Jordan finally gets a sack. To me, the defense has been fantastic for the Saints over the last few seasons. This was the worst 3 quarters that we have seen in quite some time. We were actually looking at halftime at the stats, trying to figure out when is the last time they played this bad for a half, especially when you have the takeaways and they were still not able to get Tyson Bagent down. They weren't able to slow this offense down. He had over 200 yards at halftime. Meanwhile, the Saints offense got off to a fast start and then kind of tailored off in the second half of the game. But yeah, this is going to be a major red flag for the defense if they can't start fast, especially with what we saw from Josh Dobbs now with the Minnesota Vikings, who didn't practice all week with the team and was able to come in and be successful and make plays happen with his legs. That's something the Saints are going to have to prepare for this week, and we know that both quarterbacks have affected the Saints defense in a way that they've just struggled with. So we'll see if put it together. But I think against this Minnesota team who may or may not have Justin Jefferson, I think they're leaning toward not playing him this week. I mean, it could be wide open for the Saints defense to prove that they can affect the mobile quarterback.
Offensively, some bright spots, but overall, you would have liked to seen a better performance. But they're starting to put it together, right? I mean, the way that they were spreading the ball around to different wide receivers. Obviously, Jawan Johnson with a big touchdown catch and Taysom Hill making touchdown catches. Good to see Chris Olave in the mix. I guess what is the biggest takeaway of this offensive performance this week in the way that they were able to put up the 24 points versus Chicago?
For me, it was the fact that we finally saw Derek Carr throw the ball effectively in the red zone and for touchdown passes. That is something we have not seen. They took the ball out of Derek Carr's hands last week when they were playing against the Indianapolis Colts because they didn't necessarily believe that he could throw the ball effectively in the red zone. That's been an area he has struggled, as we saw. They kind of handed it off to Alvin Kamara last weekend and let him do the work. They ran the ball a lot in the red zone last week. And then in the in the first half of this game against the Bears, Alvin Kamara helped get them there, and then they put the ball back in Derek Carr's hands, and we saw him throw 2 touchdown passes that's what we've been waiting to see from Derek Carr is, can you put it together on that side of the field? But in the second half, that really worried me was you have 5 takeaways and you only win a game by 7 points. I mean, the offense didn't capitalize on 3 takeaways in the fourth quarter. They didn't score on any of them. Not a field goal, not a touchdown. To me, that is a big red flag. And look, a win is a win. The guys were excited in the locker room afterward. But from the defensive side, they were ready to talk about just like how bad the linebackers and defensive line were in that game, and that the secondary kind of bailed them out and the DBs bailed them out. But this offense, yes, they were excited to get the win because they did start fast and have a good first half. But the concern we saw in the second half with this offense and then just kind of back off and tailor off, kind of letting the defense try to win this game for them. The Bears had plenty of opportunities to tie it back up to 24, but credit to the defense for stopping them.
What do you anticipate here with Taysom Hill's rep count at quarterback? Do you expect that to grow as we move down the schedule?
That's something we talked about in our post-game show is, do you give Taysom Hill more opportunities to throw the football? I'm not saying that you make him quarterback one or you even have a dual quarterback system, but to keep defenses honest, you have to have Taysom Hill throwing the ball more than one time in a game, which is what we have seen in the last few weeks. The guy is effective. He led the team again in rushing yards, 11 carries for 52 yards. He only had one pass, completed it for 3 yards for a touchdown. Taysom Hill also caught 4 passes for 13 yards, and a touchdown. And he's highly effective with special teams. But in order to keep defenses from kind of reading the Taysom Hill QB keeper, like, it's got to be that he's got to throw more passes in games or teams are going to figure it out. And to me, I think that only helps Derek Carr. Derek Carr seemed to have the right mindset, kind of like Drew Brees did, because a lot of quarterbacks might look at this and say, I want the ball in my hands the entire game. I'm not comfortable with this, especially with Derek Carr's first season in New Orleans. But it seems like he's had a good head on his shoulders about the way the team uses Taysom Hill, and how can you not with how effective he has been. And in my opinion, he's been the difference maker and the reason why the Saints have now had back-to-back wins.
Yeah. Brooke, about the midway point here, have you had a chance to look around the NFC South, and what's your evaluation of the division?
Well, believe it or not, the Saints are atop the NFC South right now, which is kind of hard to believe given just the slow, sluggish start that they have had. The Saints are 5-4 at this point in the season. To me, it is wide open. Carolina is kind of out of the picture. They have had so many struggles, the long losing streak. The Tampa Bay Bucks, they were hot to start, but I think teams are going to figure out Baker Mayfield. I think the Saints are going to have more success against the Bucks the second time around. Now, with the Falcons, I was actually really surprised that they lost the game to the Vikings last week, given how effective Bijan Robinson has been. The Falcons still have a little bit of issue with quarterback. I believe Taylor Heineke started last week's game. They sat Desmond Ridder, so will Desmond Ridder play toward the end of the season if it doesn't work with Taylor Heineke? I think a lot of these teams in this division have a lot of question marks. Meanwhile, the Saints are starting to figure things out. They know what needs to get corrected, and it's a matter of starting fast and finishing on top. That's something the defense was talking about all year. That's something that they have to get corrected. And now with the offense, they finally did start fast. But how do you carry that over for 4 quarters? And in my opinion, keep giving the ball to Alvin Kamara as well. We talk a lot about Taysom Hill and how he's been so effective for this team. But when you are using Alvin Kamara to move down the field and you don't allow him to punch it in, that's going to get old for a veteran running back who has been grinding it out for this team. I'd like to see them use Alvin Kamara more in the red area. We were also, too, able to get the sound evidence on Jimmy Graham. He was a healthy scratch this weekend against the Bears, and that's something a lot of people have been asking about. Why'd you bring him in? I don't know, it might be just a training camp bust. It was this big idea that you could bring in this big tight end and he could come in and be your third down package, fourth down, or a red zone guy. And it just seems like it hasn't worked out. I don't know if that's more so on Derek Carr or if that's more so on time getting to Jimmy Graham, but it doesn't sound like he's really involved at all in the game plan.
Brooke, y'all making the trip to Minnesota?
We are.
Wow.
Yes, we are.
Pack warm. November trip up north.
Yeah. The only benefit is that it's closed. I believe, isn't there a roof? It's like one of those.
No, it's not. It's open air stadium. No, I'm kidding. It's a dome.
Yeah, keep it closed. I've never been to, actually, the one time I went to Minnesota was for the Final Four, but I've never been there for a football game, so I'm looking forward to it.
I think they have like the tunnel system. Like they walk like underground.
They do.
So cool. Oh, yeah, okay, good.
Thank God.
Good. All right, Brooke, safe travels. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, there she is, checking in. Brooke Kirchhofer from NewOrleans.football. At Brooke Chesney is where you can find her on social media, keeping up with the Saints. They do it better than anybody, man. They got the great relationships. They got the breaking news. They got the great stories. I always say NewOrleans.football. They hit you by land, sea, and air. They got podcasts. They got writing. They got website. You got YouTube channel. All of it you can find NewOrleans.football. online. And Brooke is with us every Tuesday morning. All right, hour 2, we're going to get back to LSU. We'll talk with Wilson Alexander. Alexander, of course, of The Advocate and NOLA.com, covers the Tigers. Another award-winning journalist. He'll stop by here at 8:15 this morning. He was in the room yesterday with Kelly. He was asking a lot of questions. We'll ask him his thoughts on LSU moving into this Florida game week. What's going on over there?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at how the media makes BK like they throw him for so many loops during that press conference.
Oh, and he knows what he's going to get.
Frustrated this week.
Yeah, of course.
He's like one of the questions they asked, he's like, "Y'all are killing me."
Yeah,
y'all are killing
that was
me.
Cobble a couple of weeks ago when he asked him. I think Cobble asked him, "Do y'all practice multiple coverages, defense
combo coverage?"
And he like steps away from the mic and like looks at Bonnet and was like,
"Can I answer this?" Or
yeah, we do.
Where am I?
Started step 1. Okay, here we go. Because BK will talk football. Like I think that's the funniest part. It's the Baton Rouge media that's dealt with some 2 coaches in a row that were like, "Whoa, he can say anything right now."
Not want to talk
and
football.
now this man can tell you cover 2, cover 3 while we didn't spy, like all of these different things. And he's like, "Yeah, I can answer the question, but do I need to?"
Right. Like, do I have to explain
Y'all are
this
killing
to
me.
this guy?
But I mean, I enjoy his pressers. I really do. I think he gives you.
I agree.
But yeah, he is also getting held to task, which I wonder what they were like at Notre Dame. I never watched one there. I wonder if they were, because the Baton Rouge media doesn't really pull any punches.
They will.
Well, I mean,
they're circling like sharks.
Yeah, no doubt.
I smell blood.
No doubt. It's a hard place to like.
And it's always
you can't hide.
And it's always like either Jock, Cobble, or Wilson.
Moscato will get up in there.
They ask the hard questions, and it's like,
this is exactly what I didn't want to. I wasn't going to bring it up unless y'all brought it up.
when he takes the deep breath and like drinks the water,
he steps away from it. Yeah,
I'm like, they just asked him one of those.
We got him.
Got to think about it.
He's thinking inside, you son of a bitch.
I've been watching. Y'all watch too close.
Bonnet giving him the side eye.
He's probably when Jacques gets the microphone, he's like, oh,
all right, JD.
Here we go.
What's the
What
story
you got,
this
Jacques?
week, Jock?
Yeah, what you got?
I heard you do an impression. You done one of me?
All right, hour 2, we're going to talk to Wilson Alexander. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. If you have not subscribed to the show, hit that subscription button before we start hour 2 here. Remember, daily, we were brought to you by our friends over at Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical Contractors online at hughesmechanical.net. is where you can find Hughes Mechanical. They are located and headquartered down in Zachary, Louisiana, but with spots all over South Louisiana, including an office in Covington. 225-658-2147, residential and commercial HVAC services. Hughes Mechanical Contractors, online at hughesmechanical.net. Hour 2 of the Jordy Culotta Show coming back with us. Come back with us. We'll be right back after these messages from our supporters. Hour 2, we're going to talk to Wilson in 15 minutes. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us.
Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot.
Oh, yeah. Sticking the roof in.
For a hole in your roof, or a whole new roof, go roof. Roof, roof, go roof.
Hey, Greg, the roof up?
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up. Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
Well, the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Ochsner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Ochsner's to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Ochsner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver.
Favorite pregame meal?
Popeyes.
What would winning a national championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because, we seen a lot of the greats come through here, won their national championship, got, remembered for life.
If you get one superpower, what would it be?
Probably fly. That or telekinesis.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Do it wrong, do it long. Do it right, do it light.
Kyle Lacey, wide receiver, number 2.
Do you have any nicknames?
K2.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Stay humble.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly. I be flying in my dreams.
What's been the highlight of your partnership with us?
The bike giveaway was one of the best things. I was pretty excited about that one. Texas A&M, I just got a point to prove because last year I dropped 2 balls I should have caught. I'm coming for them for real.
That's it. Thank you, man.
My name is Harold Perkins, and I play linebacker.
What's your favorite pre-game meal or snack?
Pasta with a little steak, something that's not too heavy.
Any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I pray a lot. Just be me and God before the game. Perky worky. I like when they call me the percolator. I like that.
If anyone gets in a wreck, who should they call?
Gore.
Thanks. Where were you born at, Greg?
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But I claim 5-0 food because I was raised there my whole life. Favorite type of food is spaghetti. But you need to try spaghetti with some corn on the side. Funniest person, I'd probably get Kyron Lacey. He be having me joked out every time I talk to him.
Who's the most athletic?
Besides myself, Perk or Malik. If you yourself, just take one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're doing something, just be where your feet are. Make sure you give 100% effort.
What is something on your bucket list?
Win a Super Bowl. That's definitely on my bucket list.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Time traveling.
Who's the fastest on the team?
Like in a short span, I would say quick trigger, I'm taking perk. One thing most people don't know about me, probably that I moved 12 times growing up, 12 different states.
Who's the most savage on the team?
Mason Smith. Mason Smith, definitely.
And who gets it done?
Gordon.
Thank you, man. That's great.
Emory Jones, right tackle.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Got it from my mom, and she just told me, always keep your head on the swivel.
Favorite subject?
Math, easy. I kind of keep it light. Give me some type of red beans or something like that. Throw a little cornbread on the side.
Light with red beans.
Yeah, just a little bit. I am superstitious. I got some PSDs that's purple and yellow and white. I wear them every game. I feel like they my lucky draws, and you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep doing it.
As primary care sports physicians, the things we think about the most with our athletes from a medical standpoint usually involves the head, the climate, and the heart. We have to be very careful about participating in sports when it is safe, but also having the proper equipment to take care of them if we are worried about the athletes. So here in Louisiana, obviously heat can be a big problem. Things that I think about as a primary care sports medicine physician is that it's safe enough for our athletes to participate. And there are certain regulations that we follow here at Ochsner, but throughout the entire state, to make sure it is safe for our athletes to participate. When we think about concussion, we have to really recognize those symptoms from the forefront, and that becomes a cultural issue as well. As for the heart, screening exams are by far the most important thing that we can think about. We go through a series of questions, but also listen to the athlete's heart and ask about family history and other symptoms they may have had in the past. By doing so, we can identify and potentially screen out athletes to make sure that they are safe to participate in the sports that they love to do.
Evil in the way, now I'm just driving around it. They said I need a soul searching, I already found it. I unlocked my other side, now I'm sounding astounded. Drive by and let it ride like I'm whipping a Tesla. Pressure never fazed me, cause I'm bigger than pressure. I'm on my grind, bullshit, can't fit on my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me, you can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone till November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got niggas on the block like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a
All right, welcome back here. Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at RMB Builder. Shout out to Rhett and the crew at RMB. Shout out to our crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center, Charlie Harvey and his staff, bringing you our phone lines today. Brooke Kirchhofer was there in hour number one. We'll talk to Wilson Alexander here in a couple of minutes on our Southern Regional Medical Center phone line. We appreciate you being here. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you haven't already done so, as we'll be here with you until about 9 a.m. this morning. LSU ladies lose last night to Colorado. Coach Kim Mulkey looking for a little dog in her players, saying she didn't see those guts, the fight that she was looking for last night as Colorado. They were on one, man. It was a good night for the Buffaloes as they were throwing everything in, and LSU just was not able to keep up. Great teaching moment for the number one team. I expect Mulkey will capitalize on a moment like this where, last night they got shoved around a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Colorado went at them. And that'll be a good. I think that's a good loss in November, in my opinion.
You could tell they were going through it when she threw Del Rosario in the game.
Yeah,
find something.
Who do I trust?
And Del Rosario almost lost it on that inbound. She almost went backcourt. I was thinking if she goes backcourt, Mulkey literally might have a heart attack.
She might walk out the stadium.
She might have a heart attack.
She might put on the uniform.
You could see she was battling.
Like the whole, you could hear her on the court
battling. Like a couple of those calls that she thought she got, then like the other official would come in and turn it over.
Turn it the other way.
Like they show her, and I mean, it was just like, are you kidding me?
Is she all right?
Are you kidding me?
But that's the mark of a good coach. Like a lot of people, we've seen it here at LSU, where after you win one, all right, you kind of relax on the sideline. This is I'm setting the tone early that
this ain't going to go like
Kim
this.
Mulkey just doesn't get one national championship. Right. And I brought in all this talent. Y'all better figure it out.
What'd she say? Wednesday's practice is going to be
Wednesday's
fun.
practice
Is it going to be open?
I think they're all open, Coach. But I mean,
enjoy yourselves.
Yeah, right. I would keep your head down.
Like, I hope y'all enjoy Vegas.
And then for the LSU men, Will Baker last night, a career high for him, 29 points in the 106-60 win over Mississippi Valley State. Tigers score 100 for the first time since 2021. Jordan Wright, the Vanderbilt transfer, 12 points, 4 steals for Wright. Both Tyrell Ward and Damian Collins had 11 points for LSU, but the Tigers shot nearly 60% from the floor and 54% from three-point range last night as LSU, as we said, scored 100 points for the first time since 2021. They will host Nichols coming up this Friday night, so a nice start for Matt McMahon and the Tigers as they move to 1-0 on the season. They'll be back at the Maravich Center on Friday night for a tilt versus the Colonels. But a not-so-successful night for Kim Mulkey and her crew as, let's see when they play again. I think they play on Sunday. Let me pull up the schedule for you here real quick. They played Colorado last night. They'll play Queens coming up on Thursday, November 9th. So they'll be back on the floor Thursday.
And I'm sure you'll catch some heat from the South Carolina contingency as they battled back and blew the doors off.
Notre Dame.
But
no
they got some
touchdown.
freshmen too now. Yeah, that behind the back.
Goodness, that was
that point guard.
Coach, that was a move that I've only seen like Michael Jordan make.
Yeah, that point guard. That was slick, bro. That was a great move.
Irvin.
Colorado's point guard was very impressive.
Yeah, Irvin Magic Johnson had to fire off a 200-character tweet after he saw it.
Yep. Yeah.
Sweet.
The Colorado's
he explained the entire play.
Colorado's guards' ability to like push into the lane and then dish to the bigs was so big for them.
Yeah.
It was almost every time up the floor she did it.
Yeah, she did.
Well, who do you think that Kim Mulkey was talking to?
Yeah, she was talking to the superstars last
Mm-hmm.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
all that NIL money must be nice, huh?
What happened to Angel Reese playing with one shoe in her hand and blocking shots? You know, now it's like, ooh.
Yeah. Mercedes is comfortable, huh? Angel?
Uh-huh.
Might have to get you back in that Nissan, girl.
All right, so we're going to talk to Wilson Alexander coming up here.
I'll take those keys away
in a couple of minutes.
We got Wilson, actually.
We do? All right, sweet.
Hair looks great.
Oh,
as
yeah.
always.
Married man.
Let's see. He went with the hat last week, and it caused an L. You got to get the
Yeah,
hair
Wilson,
back out.
no more hats.
A lot of people were saying she went with the hat.
Yes. Can't be
married
looking
man.
good to all these people in the chat.
Wilson, good morning. How are you? There he is.
Good morning, gal.
Yes. Yes. All right, Wilson, the trip to Bama, not so great on the field for the Tigers, but Brian Kelly recognizing some of his faults yesterday. Take me back to Saturday night. What was it about LSU's performance that was not good enough to get that win?
Well, certainly on the defensive side, not being able to contain Jalen Milrose, everyone saw on the ground with 155 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. LSU seemed to do a good job of taking away the deep shots that he had been able to have quite a few of this season, but that gave up. They had so much open space when he was able to scramble. You look at third down and long in particular. LSU's linebackers were dropping to third, like 15-yard depths in coverage, and everybody was deep. And because the rush lanes weren't any good, and the guys weren't getting pressure, then he just had room to improvise and take off. And he did really for the first time this season. And on the offensive side, things were a little bit clunky in a few different moments when they needed to be really, really sharp. That 4th and 1 play didn't quite go right, of course. And then later there was that drive where Jaden scrambles, but it gets called back because of the holding on Will Campbell. Then Mason Taylor drop. And then LSU has to punt for the first time. And then, of course, it was just kind of a matter of fading away in the second half while Alabama continued to pull ahead. You don't want to, I don't think, put too much on the offense, but it wasn't as executing at a high as a level as quite needed to, and especially when Jaden got hurt, which is something you can't really control. So just not really, it was sort of kind of like what Brian Kelly said, frankly. I mean, they played okay, and they just didn't play great. And in order to go on the road, they needed to play really, really well because of what this team's deficiencies are, and they weren't able to overcome them.
Man, I thought Jaden Daniels' value was so much proved on Saturday night, and this is by no means shot at any other player or any part of the program. I'm just kind of speaking to his greatness. I think that really almost highlighted it by taking him off of the field. Wilson, what happens if he doesn't play for LSU? What do they look like? What is this team?
Well, it's hard to say for sure because we haven't seen it, but it would not certainly. Garrett Nussmeier, of course, be playing quarterback. I think offensively it would look a little bit different in terms of the things that they kind of do because Garrett's a different quarterback. You wouldn't probably have the same sort of quarterback runs. Maybe even in some short yardage situations when we saw Garrett playing a little bit earlier this season, LSU would actually go under center instead of staying in the shotgun, which is something that they find to be very comfortable with Jaden, and it gives them options and that kind of thing. So there might be a few little different schematic and formational tweaks. They would probably be throwing it deep a bunch with Garrett because that's what he likes to do, as we all know. But in terms of the execution, it's hard to say, really. I mean, because we haven't seen Garrett out there. But you'd be losing something because of the level at which Jaden is playing this year. And that's not to knock Garrett. That's just a compliment to Jaden. He's playing like a Heisman Trophy winner. Right. And so you wouldn't have his improvisational skills, and there would be something lost in that regard if he wasn't able to play.
Wilson, when you diagnose the defense and you look at that side of the ball, is it supposed to be? I mean, should it be this bad? I mean, right? I mean, I know recruiting has suffered, and I know it's about the players and personnel needs to upgrade, but it shouldn't be this bad, right?
No, I don't think so either. That it should be this bad. It's one of those situations where it seems like LSU just is not getting the most out of what it has, even if what it has isn't, 5-star recruits across the board and multiple recruiting classes that have built on top of each other to give you a lot of depth. It's still not, maximizing the talent that it seems to have in some spots. Not getting the most out of Harold Perkins. Never using him as a spy on Saturday. Things like that just sort of make you scratch your head because. It's probably a combination when you look at it really holistically of things with, like you said, recruiting, player personnel that isn't quite there, but it's also coaching is also at fault. They aren't getting the most out of this team. There's been some strange just schematic decisions at times. And when you aren't, seeing quite the development that you need to see out of players, I think particularly on the defensive front, that goes back to coaching. And frankly, it goes back to coaching that they don't have the players that they need to have. Mm-hmm. You got to give them some leeway because, like we said, this is year 2. They inherited a very depleted roster, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But you are also, maybe missed on some players in the transfer portal. Maybe in the offseason need to look at your evaluations again, see maybe why that happened, because obviously, they're responsible at the end of the day for getting the right guys on the team.
Wilson, from a defensive line standpoint, you saw some of the rotation and some of the guys that were getting into the game. What about the weak story? Is this a big story? I mean, when you talk about Brian Kelly coming out on Monday in his press conference saying they should have instituted a spy, and Whit Weeks does not log a snap. Earlier in the season, he was trending towards being the leading tackler on the team if they had kept him in the lineup. Not to say that should have been his role, but for him to be in week 8 and not get any run, what is that story? I mean, is there any more there?
I don't know if there's anything more there other than the fact that they always seem to go with experience over youth if everything else in their mind looks equal. And in this case, that means Omar Spates over Whit Weeks. But it was, odd in that he never played a snap, like you said. I mean, and that it's completely dropped off since Omar got healthy. Omar played pretty well in the Army and in the Auburn games, but Whit has that sort of athleticism and that speed that you feel like you could probably find some kind of role for him in some way. And he just hasn't played much at all over the recent weeks, and obviously, didn't play on the defensive side against Alabama. And so it is sort of just a peculiar kind of decision a little bit there. And that because he is as fast and as athletic as he is, and like you said, maybe he could have been a spy on Milroe and still be able to rush Harold off of the edge. But that's one of those things where I'm not going to necessarily disagree with you had to have done that in order to win the game. That probably wouldn't. I don't know if that wouldn't be the game, but it's weird that maybe he's not getting any run whatsoever when we've seen him play pretty well when he had time earlier this season.
Some bright spots on offense. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, 10 catches, 170 yards, and a score. And the pass that Jaden Daniels threw to him on the corner of the field is one of the all-time most beautiful. I mean, that thing was dropped in a bucket. What about Neighbors' season, Wilson? I mean, I hope this thing does not get lost in history here because, I mean, he is cutting college football up.
I hope it doesn't get lost either. I mean, it's going to get overshadowed in a loss what he did on Saturday, but goodness gracious, he was phenomenal looking at it in real time. He was phenomenal watching it over again on the film. Like he was so good. He had that stat line. He's now up to 1,152 yards receiving this season. That leads the country, and not only does it do that, it leads the country by 106 yards. And all the other guys who are kind of behind him have played the same amount of games. It's like everybody's played the same amount of games at this point, who's kind of at the top of that leaderboard in terms of yards receiving. And he's got a full 100-yard game more than anybody else. He's also second in the country with 10 touchdown catches, tied in that regard behind Brian Thomas and a couple others. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's fast. He's getting separation. That catch along the sideline, getting that 1 foot in bounds like that was – I mean, probably, I don't know, it was one of the best plays of the entire game, maybe like the most skillful play that you saw in the entire game in terms of just the talent level that had to go into doing something like that with the body control that he has. It's amazing. He's the second, on that first catch that he had, that touchdown, put him over 1,000 yards for the season. He's the second LSU receiver to ever have 1,000-yard, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, joining Josh Reed. He's climbing up those all-time yard markers for LSU. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Everything that you wanted him to be this year and then some.
Incredible stats and an incredible season for Malik Neighbors. I mean, he is looking like a top 5 pick. I mean, at this point, I mean, he will not have to wait long for his name to come off the board in April.
It's a shame he won't be probably in discussions for the Blitnick office because of it seems like it's become a categorically historical award.
It really is.
He should at least be a finalist. I mean, for that in particular, top 5 pick obviously comes down to the NFL teams and what they're looking for and all of that exactly. But if he's not a finalist for the Blitnikoff Award, then something is.
Throw the whole thing out.
Wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's broken. It's a broken
I can understand if you end up giving it to Marvin Harrison Jr. or somebody like that. He's a very, very good player. But if Malik isn't one of those last 3 up for it, then there's a system is broken.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about it. Wilson, okay, so this has always kind of been a pivot point for LSU football. They've kind of gone one or two ways. If they won the game, the season was usually successful, and the back part of the season was not really a concern. If they lost the game, people would be curious on how LSU was going to handle this. I mean, are they going to mail it in? Are they going to what do you expect this team to do now that game is in the rearview mirror and they were not successful?
Well, I mean, I expect them to try to still go out and win, and try to finish the season strong. That was the message, of course, that Brian Kelly is really relaying to them. He talked about it yesterday, how if they're going to go from good to elite or good to great to elite and all of those things to actually get this program to where it wants to be instead of where it is at this current moment, then they need to take some pride in that and try to win back-to-back 10-win seasons. Is it really, matter so much in the grand scheme of things now that you've lost, your championship hopes are done? Maybe not as much, but it still does, especially if, I guess the difference of what I mean there is if you get to 9 wins versus 10 wins, in a bowl game, bowl games are kind of crapshoots these days, but in terms of we don't know who's would have opted out by that point and all that kind of thing. But it's still something that you want to try to have that to hold on to at the end of the year. And especially for an LSU program that's still under Brian Kelly, very in the beginning of everything and somewhat still new, it would be a little bit significant in order to be able to point to that and look at that and say, okay, well, they've got back-to-back 10-win seasons after going 11-12 the previous 2 years. Maybe there's some progress and some improvement that they continue to build on. And that's also going to be a big thing here for Kelly because, this is, like you said, an inflection point, and he's got to be able to hold everything together here at the end of the season in order to get to that. And so it's going to be a test for him in a little bit of a way, and we'll be able to see kind of how he handles it and how the players respond to it over the next few weeks.
What do you know about this Florida team, and what's the challenges this week for LSU?
Well, it's not the best Florida team ever. Or certainly, they looked like they were playing a little bit better at the beginning of the year, and now they've lost their last 2 games. That loss to Arkansas was ugly, but it's a physical kind of team, especially on the offensive side with their run game. I think you could see that the most when they played Tennessee. They're going to try to run the ball inside zone. They've got ETN and a couple of guys there in the backfield who are quite good. Pearsall is a talented receiver that you're going to have to account for. And Grant Mertz has played better than it seemed like he was going to when he came over from Wisconsin. They're still not a great team, not a complete team. LSU is rightfully favored in this game, but Florida's going to give them something to handle on the offensive side, especially if Florida can get its run game going. LSU is going to have to be able to stop that. If it does, then it should be in good shape, but it kind of comes down to that when I start to look at the matchup.
Wilson Alexander every Tuesday right here with us. You can read his work online. You can follow him on social media at WHAlexander_. A fantastic writer for The Advocate and online at NOLA.com. Wilson, we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.
There he is. The newly married. The hair looked fantastic.
Yes.
Yes.
Almost didn't recognize him in the hat.
I know.
He could go into Whitpro very easily.
It was scary. Remember our friends over at Katie's Restaurant. Katie's located down on Iberville Street. Get in touch with them online at katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com is where you can find them online. They got a sister restaurant in Francesca's. Francesca's is located down in Lakeview as well. katiesinmidcity.com is where they're at online. Go check them out. Tell them you're here to hear the Culotta Show. New Sunday hours down there, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. So if you want to watch the game pre or post game, they can hook you up. They got a great spot over at Francesca's and over at Katie's. katiesinmidcity.com.
Is it a little concerning that LSU is already very concerned with Florida's running game and they're 86th in the country in rushing?
Yes.
That shows where your defense is. Like, I'm worried about inside zone, coach.
I gotta stop this inside zone.
I mean, really, I couldn't believe Bama, that wasn't their game plan to start off with. I mean, it was they were slicing LSU.
Gashing them.
I mean, LSU was making contact 6 yards off the ball.
Whoever they wanted to put at running back was getting 5, 6, 7, 8.
And you saw
10.
LSU give up on it pretty quickly.
Yes. Who needs that? Who needs a little bit of
some action?
Yes. And Florida has 2 running backs from Louisiana.
Yes.
And they are hungry to run against LSU.
ATN and who?
And Johnson. Johnson's from New Orleans.
Yeah, he went to
De La Salle.
Yeah, and he was at UL. Billy brought him with him.
Mm-hmm.
He was the freshman of the conference at UL.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
He is a stud.
And ATN's a stud. And now his brother is going nuclear in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville is scary, coach.
Yeah. Doug.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, they are scary.
No doubt.
But ATN's found his footing in the NFL.
Yeah,
he looks
good.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
He's catching touchdowns. He's running touchdowns.
He's faster than everybody else.
Juking people out.
Jennings.
I mean, he looked good last week in
Louisiana
Pittsburgh.
Coach.
He had the spats on.
He did.
Sneaky like Jacksonville's unis now.
They do. The colors.
They went back to the old ones.
Yeah, well, they calm down. I
mean, they
chill out, man. Way too many drugs.
Right. Yeah, the tritone helmet was a lot.
It was a lot.
The teal, the all teal.
They wasted such a good team with the tritone helmet.
Yeah, when they went to the AFC Championship.
What are they wearing?
Blake Bortles, coach.
Leonard Fournette, coach.
Leonard Fournette, a young Jalen
Ramsey.
The birth of playoffs, Lenny.
Yes.
It was the birth of playoffs, Lenny. Right
Josh
there.
Allen.
Yep.
They have Calais Campbell.
Yeah, they did have
on that defense.
Saxonville.
Yeah, they were nasty.
They were,
and they
were a tough out, man.
They took the
Florida
refs
too, Dante Fowler.
I mean, they had New England beat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, was it a false start or
they called something? That, I mean,
it was something weird.
Tom Brady left.
Yeah,
Tom Brady right.
Third and 4, they need 5.
No doubt about it. It was.
How many do you need, Tom?
Yeah,
I got you.
If you think it's a foul, I see it, Michael. If Michael thinks it's a foul, it's a foul. I'm sorry. It's the all-time audio of the official apologizing to Michael Jordan. He's like, "Oh, if Michael thinks it's a foul, I'm sorry, Michael. I missed it. I'll run this league."
But talking about Malik Neighbors, he is 4th on the LSU all-time receiving yards list right now.
Wow,
currently.
Who's the top 4?
The top Josh Reed, Wendell Davis, and Eric Martin, and then it's Malik Neighbors.
So for the season.
No, for his career.
Because you only got 1 year of Jamar pretty much.
Right.
And I guess 2 years of Justin Jefferson, but they weren't like this because he had to spread the wealth.
Yeah, and I guess Odell and Jarvis.
Yeah, well, Odell's on there. Odell is 9 on the list.
That offense. I mean, Odell would be doing this in this offense.
Yeah.
He had to take advantage of every opportunity.
Every time I catch it, I got to score or get.
We're throwing it 20 times, and I might get 5 of these things. That at least that's not where you are. Like,
it is. I mean, it's an incredible season by neighbors.
But like the Bolitnikov thing is gonna.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns does Malik have?
He has 10.
Okay, Marv has 10 too.
They both have 10. Both average. Marvin Harrison averages 17.6 yards a catch. Malik averages 17.5.
Wow.
And he's got more yards.
And he has more yards and more receptions.
Because Ohio State, this is the first year they haven't had a quarterback in a minute.
Yeah.
Because you saw what Caleb Stroud did in the NFL. That was incredible.
C.J. Stroud.
He's an all-pro. He's a top 10 quarterback in this league already.
I would say he's more like he's like a top 7. Like he's like a top.
He's putting himself up there.
So good.
And their offensive line is so bad.
They beat Jacksonville already.
I know.
This season in Jacksonville.
I mean, he whips the ball around. I mean, he is.
This guy.
How do you pass on?
I mean, it's all
relative.
semantics. And
No. But like, if you're looking at him and Bryce Young, in the way that he throws the ball, this is an honest question, and I'm impressed with Bryce Young. Like, I'm not saying that Bryce Young is bad, but C.J. Stroud's another level.
I mean,
right? Like, I didn't know that he could throw the ball like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, watching him in college, even with that receiving core, you were like, there's gonna be some sense of a transition to the league. You know what I mean?
But he is,
bro. He whips the ball.
Houston has weapons. And
he puts the ball.
He puts it on the every time.
he
it doesn't
throws
matter
it like
who's catching
Dan
it.
Marino.
Yeah.
I mean, like the ball. He hit people in the face mask. 35 yards.
I guess the only excuse that would be is you have to be wary of Ohio State quarterbacks, right? That would be everybody that came from that program under Ryan Day, and I guess even a little bit under Urban Meyer. It felt like system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, well, why would this be the difference? But then when just a comparison of size for C.J. Stroud to Bryce Young, it's like, well, that one looks like a quarterback.
And I think he didn't do good on the little S2 cognitive test, and they were like turned off by that. Like some teams were like, oh, he didn't do good on the little.
He should now become the example of
who gives a damn about
they don't matter.
Shapes and colors.
Yeah, right.
That's literally what that test is.
Well, the S2 though, that's like the Wonderlic, right? The S2 cognitive is like a lot of like high pressure decision making, and it's
that's Marucci's deal, isn't it?
Yeah. And so like that is a sign of what like people do in pressure situations and how they like actively think as a quarterback. So it does make sense that you would put some weight to that. But then there you have the other side of the coin where the Carolina Panthers owner was impressed that Bryce Young ordered scallops and a salad and C.J. Stroud ordered a porterhouse steak. And he's like, well, I want somebody that takes care of his body. And it's like, and then the Texans owner was like, hell yeah, you got a mistake.
Yeah, right.
Like,
those scallops aren't going to keep him protected behind that shoddy offensive line you got.
Dude, talk about when you were like overanalyzing.
That is
scallops.
over analytical. I mean, but they get paid to overthink over there.
Yeah, we gotta do something with our time.
Leave C.J. Stroud on the table because he ordered a porterhouse.
Yeah.
Man wanted a steak.
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, hey, it's a long career though. Long career.
It is a long career, but
it just feels like the Texans have got something cooking. Like they found their head coach, and now you see the same thing with Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas, where it's this is fun. Mm-hmm. Like that was such an all-time spite game against McDaniels.
It was.
They're just like, we're gonna win by 30.
I mean, the story is an all-timer.
About Mike McDaniel?
On how Josh McDaniels gets fired.
Yeah.
They call like a team meeting. McDaniels calls one with Antonio Pierce, and like the whole team airs out their grievances against McDaniels.
And he's there to like take it and move forward.
He's like the whole intent of the meeting is for them to be like, air it out. Let's get it out on the table. Let's get it all figured out, and let's move on and become as good as we can.
We actually hate you, Coach.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this is unfixed. And then
we want him.
Yeah. So everybody goes around, and then Antonio Pierce speaks and kind of is like, like talks to them about like being like the whole room's like, yeah. And like Mark Davis walks out and was like, hey, Josh, you're out. Antonio,
you're in. I love that shit.
Yeah.
We actually got your office packed up during the meeting, so you wouldn't have to do it. Sorry. It's all good.
Go talk to the Bobs.
And the team rolls out there and wins. looks fantastic.
Looks great.
Ripping cigars in the locker room.
Devontae Adams hasn't looked like he gave a damn about the Raiders since he showed up. In that one, he looks
so happy.
He looks like Drew Brees at the Saints.
Right.
I mean, he's just like nodding in the back, smiling, laughing. I mean, they might have found something with it. Pierce got caught up in all that stuff at Arizona State with Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
He was like, I think he was like the director of football ops.
Yeah. Oh, I got to get out of here. I need to call in a favor to the NFL.
He was like one of the guys that they were like trying to pin everything on, and he was like, you know what? I don't even like college football.
Right.
He's like, I mean, like, I'm not even supposed to be here.
And a lot of that story with McDaniels was because he compared his Giants team to when they played the Patriots.
That's right.
And McDaniels took him to the side.
No, Pierce. That's right. Pierce compared the Raiders
season to this could happen also.
Right, and to the Giants that beat the Patriots team. And McDaniels walked up to Pierce after the meeting and said, "Don't ever talk shit about the Patriots again."
Oh my God!
He still wants to be there.
How about
the Raiders head coach?
How about that?
Oh God! Yeah, you gotta go, dog.
And that's what they're saying. Like he still wants to be a Patriot.
We cleaned your stuff out for
Yeah,
you.
go back. Go call. And I'm sure he'll end up on the Patriots.
Call Bill.
And he should.
He should.
Because the Patriots offensively, it's a crime what they've done to Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Like that's a football felony.
Well,
what they've done to Mac Jones. I mean, like, I watched Mac Jones play on Sunday. I can't describe how bad he is. He missed an open receiver, like running like kind of a corner route. And I'm telling you, the guy, it's like a pregame warm-up.
Yeah, I think he doesn't trust those receivers, though, because those receivers are bad.
That's fine. The guy is running in a space.
Naked.
By himself.
Naked.
Like in the television screen, all it is this dot in a spot of green. And Mac just like... I mean, the guy, like, puts his hand up, and it goes, like, 5 feet over his head. I mean, he's like...
McCorkle.
I mean, what do you want me to do with that, man?
Kayshawn doesn't register to catch this year.
Kayshawn barely plays. Like, Kayshawn...
He's had 4 targets all season.
He had that 1 week where he didn't get his feet in, and after that, they kind of...
Yeah, that was it. That's all it takes for Bill.
Yeah, Bill's not... Somebody in the chat said New England's receivers are booty.
It's
a great pun.
They are.
They are.
I mean,
They
it's
are.
tough to be as bad as they are.
Who played quarterback for the Raiders?
It wasn't Jimmy G.
It
right?
wasn't Jimmy G.
Is it...
It's number 4.
No.
Because he looks like Carr back there. Which, I'd ship Carr back. In a heartbeat.
Same.
I don't know. It's starting to come together, but he's
to
being.
me, Taysom Hill looks like the better
I was about.
quarterback.
Well, no. What's happened is they found out that for some reason Carr is terrible in the red zone.
Aiden O'Connell.
Was
supposed to play LSU last year as the quarterback for who they played Purdue in the bowl game.
Well, he was the one that was hurt.
Yeah, no, he wasn't hurt. He opted out.
Opted out.
Yeah,
opted out.
And the receiver is on the Bengals. Charlie
Yeah,
Jones.
he opted out too.
Not playing LSU,
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah.
Think this
Is it
is
crazy?
Trying to get ready for the draft.
I'm trying to go to the league.
Have you seen Harold Perkins?
God, especially that year. And that's when you get to the conversation. Like I've seen, this is obviously all fan conjecture about like Jane Daniels sitting out the rest of the year because he got hurt, and then it's like, oh, he should just start prepping for the NFL draft. Like that's asinine.
Oh, so it's the Caleb Williams thing.
Yeah,
but he can't sit out anything.
Caleb Williams is already sitting out in the stands.
I've talked
It is rolling downhill.
I've talked to everybody about this, and I'm probably gonna. I gotta send it to my kid's mom to let her know that we will never let this.
This can't happen.
This will never happen. If he comes to the stands, I'm telling him, go to the locker room, son.
Yeah.
Go cry in the locker room.
Go cry with your coach.
Because ESPN is not the place for you to be
That man
crying.
crawled into the stands.
It's like a Hollywood shot.
Yes, that's like a movie thing.
It looks like the end of a movie. I mean,
he is boohoo crying to his mom after.
I've never seen anybody cry that hard in a long time.
You're 21 years old, dog.
But he you could see it in his stomach.
What is he crying about?
I mean, y'all already lost 2 games.
I mean, like
you ain't going to the playoffs.
You've lost. It's the third game of the year you've lost. I mean, like what are you crying about?
And y'all went to the conference championship last year and didn't win anyway. So it's like,
and it doesn't get any easier. They got Oregon this week.
Yeah, I mean, they
gonna be crying again.
They may not win another game.
Dan Lanning has that playing in the.
Oh my God! It's like this man would never play for
what
Oregon.
Dan Lanning is doing to that. Like, I mean,
like,
make
him quit.
You could tell.
I want to see this again.
You could see Dan Lanning wanted to jump through the screen at Deion Sanders. I mean, like at that Colorado program. You know what I mean? He was like, "I hope everybody's been watching.
I hope they're watching today.
Yeah, I hope everybody's been watching today." And like the lady's like, "I think they are, Coach."
She's like,
she's like,
the mic away from.
Yeah. Oh God.
This man wants to punch me. But
we play for. They play for clicks. We play with our pads. Like, okay.
Like, all right.
Who wrote
Chill,
this for
dude.
you?
There's a television. There's TV cameras in here. You serial killer.
Yeah, you're seeing the real Dan.
Yeah, right.
But I guess if you're Caleb Williams, that was your whole season right there. You had a chance to beat Washington. You lose by 10, and then Grinch gets fired. That's fired. That's probably why he was crying. He's like, I can't do anything. We give up 50 a game. LSU's in the same boat.
Well, I mean, in that case, the Jaden Daniels should be a soap opera star.
Yeah.
Cardell makes a good point in the chat. He did. Caleb Williams, after the game, he said he was going cuddle with his dog and watch movies.
Yeah.
Did he really?
He really said that after he got caught crying.
I mean, the man just likes to wear his emotions on his sleeve. Or he's trying not to get drafted.
Or on his hands.
Yes. His mom does his nails for him, too.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting. I didn't know anything about this man until this year.
Me either.
So essentially, he's their daughter, or he acts like it.
Yeah, I think he's
lets his mom do
he's
his
got a lot of
nails.
only child syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he an only child?
It feels like it.
Yeah, probably so.
Or he's just actively trying to act out so he doesn't go 1 overall. Because I don't think USC wants to take him back at this point. This is just it's a movie every Saturday.
I mean,
this man is in the state. I've never seen that in my life.
I'll take him.
If I saw that in Friday Night Lights, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
I'd be like, it's kind of overwritten.
Like the best player in college football, the Heisman Trophy winner,
crying,
loses his 3rd game of the year, and leaps up into the stands and cries with his helmet on.
This might
to
have
his
to be
mom.
a thumbnail today.
Well, his mom covers up his face with her pamphlet.
And like,
she got the game program covering this.
Like that never would cross my mind.
No, ever. Especially like after. I mean, I know we lost our 3rd game, so it's like I understand where his anger and frustration would be coming from, but it's like.
And I mean, like I'm sorry if I owned a pick in the NFL draft, and it was my responsibility to build the team and build it around the quarterback, I would not take him off of that clip. I'm telling you, that is to me, that is a undraftable. I mean, you might take him, where you can get some value like later in the draft, but I mean, to spend all the money in draft capital on a quarterback that has to be the center and the nucleus of a franchise, I think that is going to do him. That's not going to, I mean, that is going to do him a lot of harm in trying to get to the next level, in my opinion. I mean, it may not. I mean, somebody may say, hey, I just think that the opportunity for him to succeed at the next level does not feel great after the last couple of weeks for Caleb Williams. I mean, it just.
And he's still projected to go 1 overall.
And this is the same cat that tweeted LOL after Max Duggan was crying.
And it's not because of the show of emotion. Like, don't get me wrong. I love emotion to be shown. There's a great story around LSU football of Devin White, who got in front of the room and showed emotion, right? And was a real leader of the team. But to be the leader of the team, you can't have that look. I'm sorry. Like, if you're going to be the leader of the team, you can't have the look of you curling up into your mom's arms and boo-hoo crying as far as your teammates seeing it. You can cry behind closed doors to your teammates.
You can cry on the bench.
You can cry in front of your coach. You can cry in the locker room and trying to get everybody and rally everybody. I would encourage emotion to be shown for a team to grow, right? I think that there's no way a team can take necessary steps of growing without real emotion being shown. But that's not the way to do it. Like, that's not the look that the leader needs to portray. And if I'm drafting, I'm saying, you know what? Give me the next guy.
Give me the next guy. Yeah, I agree with you. It was so very much look at me.
I mean, it's just like
even though this is not what people should be seeing.
Go in the locker room and cry to your teammates and tell them, fellas, this is going to be, we're about to. I mean, like even like the Tim Tebow thing. I mean, ultimately, like that. I think that's cheesy but like, I mean, it's
plays.
Sports. Yeah, it plays. It works. That's what happens. That's how it works. I mean,
I've seen guys cry after competition. Like they.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was just the manner in which he cried.
Yeah. Who's the point guard in Sacramento? He played for Kentucky. De'Aaron Fox. After they lost in the Final Four to might have been North Carolina or somebody. They lost in the Final Four, and they had him in the locker room, and they were like interviewing him.
Absolutely.
He's crying, but like they lost in the Final Four,
man,
and lose a regular season game, their third loss of the season, when their defense is just as bad as LSU's.
Really, I mean, you like to see that. I mean, that's something that tells you that they're bought in.
USC LSU would be
oh God,
a tank fight.
I mean, how do you want to set that over?
Oh my God. I mean,
90.
I think it would be higher than that.
100.
No, I think it would be.
It would definitely be 100.
I think it would be closer to
like
100
and a half.
You have that. Then you have the juxtaposition of Iowa Northwestern. They set the over at 30 and they scored 10. It was 7-3.
The Red Sox have more
runs
scored in Fenway than they scored in that game. Like that is.
That was because even I saw the under at 30. I was like, I'm gonna take it, but I might have to hold my breath. And it's like, no, punt, turnover, punt.
My guy's stepping down next year though. For ends.
Yeah, well, he had
no. They're like,
done,
get the hell out of
here. This nepotism thing is not gonna work.
Look, he could cover up only so much because I think he had a clause in his contract. He had to score average over 24 points a game for the entire season. It's like I don't think we're gonna get there.
I think we're at 10.
But if you have to, that's like the Kyler Murray clause, where it's like we need this much out of you.
Yeah.
It's like if you have to ask, probably not the man for the job.
And their defense is so good.
All they do is get turnovers.
Their defense is so good.
Oh, they're championship level.
Like
good.
I was watching Iowa Saturday, and I was like, what makes the recruits want to go there? Because I mean, I get it, I guess, because you'll probably get drafted. Like, Iowa players, they have a lot of Iowa players in the NFL, but I think we're going to win.
I think a lot of them are, around the area.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're all kind of homegrown. They're known for the tight ends, offensive line, defensive front. A lot of those guys come from that area. Mm-hmm. The part that surprises me the most that they have is, the DBs. Yeah. And the linebacker, they got SEC dudes up there.
They got a first-round white DB.
Well, I'm sure he's from Iowa, huh?
I don't know where he's from, but ain't too many of them running around.
No.
And he is a stud.
Safety?
He plays corner.
Oh, the guy.
Cooper DeJean, the guy the fair catch kid?
Yeah.
He's a stud punt returner and a stud cornerback.
Wow. It's crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that is the thing about Iowa's defense. I mean,
he's gonna go first round. He's projected first round. Cooper DeJean.
Oh yeah, they call him the Caucasian Devin Hester.
Wow, that's bold.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a stud. He scores half their points on punt returns. And
that's why
they were lights out defense.
That's why they were so mad about the fair catch.
Yeah.
What was the clause? He had to average 25 a game to keep his job.
Yeah.
And they just pulled the plug 7 games in. They were like, "You have no shot."
Yeah, you can't. The math is gonna math for you.
You got no shot.
You're not gonna make it
unless you start averaging 72 points a game. It's over.
And then put DeJean on offense.
I mean, really, why would you not?
Even he can't fix it. But that's just an unbelievable, for 3 years now, it's just been known that Iowa football is not going to score more than 14 points a game and still win 9 games a year.
Iowa scores 16.3 points a game.
And what's their record? 8-2?
Takes you back to a time and place. It's just miserable.
But now you're on the other side of the coin.
It's not as miserable on this side, but it is.
It is.
It's painstaking.
It's still pain.
I mean, it is painstaking.
I mean,
I still don't understand how they were so good at making defensive adjustments last year.
I don't either. That's the part that gets me. That you're just like what I asked Wilson. I really do believe it's not supposed to be this bad. Mm-mm. I mean, I get it. it's bad. You don't have a lot of DBs. You're undermanned in some areas, and you're gonna struggle on some things. But to be so just off on that side is the part that really is just, it's tough to grasp. It's tough to fathom that they just can't figure it out. I mean, I don't understand how they can't get any sense of a plan together that has and makes them look functional in any piece. Again, what we saw on Saturday night, that's the same defense from Ole Miss. You know, what Brian Kelly said yesterday on that he sees progression, that feels like the company line. You know, I mean, like that
feels like I'm trying to get through the year.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, and quite honestly, he might be. You know, I mean, he might be. But there is no progress, and if there is a clear plan in place to get better in the offseason, then you need to get there very fast, because the amount of ground and time I think you're losing because your defense is back. I mean, it's something that, you know, you don't really understand it until you're in it. You know, with Texas and even Oklahoma coming to the league, I know that they're struggling, but I mean, you put them into the mix and you get on the same field as them, and then something like happens on Saturday night where you get exposed. I mean, they got exposed for being no depth. You know, I mean, the coaching is behind. I mean, the things that were lacking were very much on display for LSU. While they were throwing punches and keeping up and, you know, taking the lead at a halftime, I mean, all of that, the bubble burst, and it was, you know, it was not.
I mean, you can only let so much water in the boat.
It was not good to see on a national stage.
And I understand, I think a lot of people have had this question, but from my perspective and what we knew about the LSU defense going into that game, with the 4 new corners that you essentially had to play left or losing for, they were so concerned about giving up that deep ball to Jalen Milroe that they're like, well, if they do decide to run it and this keeps happening, you have to see if that's what's going to beat you. You have to do one or the other, like one of the two. He hasn't done this really that much this year, or he's run it. I know he's running the big games, but if this is what's going to beat us, and I'm fine with it happening this way because it has to go right all the time for you to score like this running the football, and then it just did. Mm-hmm. Like, you were thinking we can keep pace with this if they're going to run the ball like that instead of getting hit over your head for 65-yard touchdowns and then quick changing, and then your offense scores and your defense is tired again. So they were trying to the lesser of two evils, I guess. But when something so rudimentary as that, when there's a fix, or at least you should at least try. And Caskey said it yesterday. Like, they spied one time early in the game, and that was it.
And it led to a sack, or it led to a pressure.
And Deshaun Womack played one snap, got a pressure, didn't play again.
Yeah, like
and that's the stuff.
What is that?
Right, that's the stuff that's like, what do we?
Like, and you hear BK talking about, we want to be elite, you want to be great, you want to come in, you want to, like, it's like, well, then you have to play these guys.
You got elite players that you aren't playing.
Yeah, I mean, well, he doesn't show up. Okay, well, then run him in the stadium.
We just taught him how to tie his shoes.
Yeah, I mean,
because I mean, like, even if you watch like the freshman corners like Toviano and Stamps, like, why weren't they playing from week one?
It's like you saw Ryan Yates 3 weeks ago,
and haven't seen him since.
He got hurt. Like, well, then if they liked Stamps and Toviano over him, where have they been? You know, like, I know Stamps was banged up a little bit, but it's like the Toviano thing. Like, you just roll him out against Alabama, and I saw PFF had him graded the highest cover guy on the field.
Yeah, he only gave up one catch.
You know, I mean, it's like, and I know
he was lost out there. He was fighting for his life.
He gave up the. I mean, what do you expect?
Oh no,
he gave up the edge after he got ran over.
Yeah,
it was in his head. But I mean,
and
like
LSU
Jordy
gives
said,
up the edge.
Expect, yeah, right. I mean, everybody does.
And there's going to be some built-in, you know, like, hey, he's 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like, you gotta just kind of hope and pray at some points.
And then you talk about, like, Harold Perkins, if that's who you want to use as a spy. He's the highest rated cover, like, linebacker, Sam, nickel,
I saw that,
in the country. Like, him being the highest rated cover linebacker in the country, you have to put him out there because you don't have any other options. You're basically playing him at corner.
It's crazy.
That is,
and he's good at it.
See,
like, that's the stuff that you're like, how?
As an LSU fan,
yeah, you're like, how are you so
like
just?
I mean, I understand because of like what he came in with, but it's still like,
yeah, it is.
I mean,
It's tough. It's tough to fathom it.
It's tough to swallow.
All right, hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you. Wednesday's edition of the show, 7 a.m. We'll be back with you, built by RMB Builders.
We're on to Florida. I'm gonna run for 250 yards. Throw for 250.
Hey, Chino. Put my headphones up, bro. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. It's the hottest show around, we ain't gotta flex. Call up G, we get it done, we earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in, where they going next. Throw up the L's, now we lit, band playing Nick. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live, mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time, yeah.